When I was running live clinics, I worked in a department that was health promotion. It was more than just stop smoking. We also had programs on weight control and nutrition and exercise, and we did corporate screening programs trying to assess people's health and help them make positive changes. And over the years, working with corporations and working even more so in community-based groups, we had special events. One of them was a fun run, and it was a 5K and a 10K run, and it was one of the earlier hospital-based runs like this that were in the country at that time. This started in 1978. And it was pretty interesting because over the years, as I was doing more and more clinics, I kept on running into more and more clinic graduates at this annual event. They happened to be on the mailing list because I was sending out the letters, and in the letters we would announce other programs that we had coming up. And what was always really great to see were these people who would say this was the first run they ever did. Hey, when they were smoking, they couldn't run. They'd try to train for running every now and then. They'd get a block or two. They'd start to wheeze and cough their guts out and realize, well, this is crazy. They were smokers. Smoking and jogging didn't mix. And of course, they gave up jogging. Well, after they quit smoking, these were people who had tried maybe a few times and realized it couldn't be done until they stopped smoking. And then once they stopped, all of a sudden it opened up this new activity that they never could do before. Now, many of these people remember when they were smoking saying, well, I can't run marathons, big deal. I never really wanted to anyway. When they would try and they would fail, they'd realize it couldn't be done, and then they'd think, no big deal. I just can't do this. But what you have to understand is when you write off activities like this, and I'm not saying one's got to become a jogger or a marathoner, but when you write them off saying, well, it's no big deal that I can't do this, you don't know what you're writing off down the line. This isn't a choice now. What this is it hurts too much to do it, so you give it up. Well, giving up your ability to jog now, that may mean, again, if the reason you gave it up was because you were destroying your lung from smoking and you couldn't do the activity, well, maybe it was jogging now, but somewhere down the line it could have been less strenuous activities, like maybe just getting upstairs. And then you continue to smoke. You're getting warnings from your body. You can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, and you're getting all these warnings, and you're not listening. And you start, again, using the same thing. Well, big deal. I never really want to do this anyway. You got to realize what you're putting at risk. Because over time, you can find yourself not being able to do things not only that you maybe just wanted to do, but things you had to do. There are millions of people who literally become pulmonary cripples. They can do nothing. They're not able to do heavy demand stuff. Geez, when it's snowing real heavily, they can't go out and shovel. My gosh. When it gets cold enough and these people have these pulmonary conditions, if it just gets too cold, they can't even go outside, let alone go out and do some sort of physical activity. If they want to help, like in preparing a meal, you smoke long enough, you destroy enough lung tissue, it gets to a point where not only can't you prepare a meal, you may not have the energy to chew your meal. It gets to levels like this. The longer you smoke, and especially once you have a diagnosis, there's some people who are hearing this and think, oh, come on, I've smoked so much so long already. What's the use in quitting now? I've already done all this damage. The most people, I hope, who are hearing this, while they may have some impairment, you're not at the point where you are a pulmonary cripple, where you're just, living on an oxygen tank, laying in bed, maybe being able to sit in a chair every now and then. This is what life can get down to in order to sustain smoking by destroying your lung in the process. So, yes, you can work with the logic. I never wanted to do, jogging anyway. But start to carry that thought through and start to look at all the things that you do in your day-to-day life and ask yourself, are you really, working with the belief that you don't really care if you are able to do any of these things? Because it really comes down to, again, your entire life. Your entire life is going on the line at risk by continuing to smoke. Once you realize that these things are important to you, you don't want to, end up a pulmonary cripple, unable to do anything. And if you don't want to go that route, the strongest thing you can do now to avoid If you have problems already, avoid them getting worse. And if you don't have the problems now, avoid ever getting them. It really is a matter now of just making and sticking to a personal commitment to never take another puff.